Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers. All right, Brewer fans, thanks for tuning in to the Brew Crew Review Podcast. With me is Vince and Scott. This is Craig, and the Brewers are going back to the postseason. We just finished off
that was the champagne
9-2 victory over. There's a little bit of champagne Scott's popping. 9-2 victory over the Cincinnati Reds to punch our ticket to the postseason. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Well, I'm not opposed. It's a pretty great night, guys. This is the sixth time in franchise history that the Brewers have made the postseason, so it'll be really exciting. And I think it is worth pointing out that there still is some things to be determined. The Brewers still have a chance at the division with 4 games yet to play. So we're not yet determined what we're going to be doing next week, whether it's going to be a 1-game series in the wild card or if it's going to be a division-winning team here in 2019.
And if it is a wild card, where is it going to be?
And if there are any games at Miller Park going forward, I will be there, hopefully.
Yeah, at this point, all teams in the National League have been at least decided in terms of who's going to be in the playoffs. It's a matter of which position. So if the Brewers are the wild card, they'll be playing against the Washington Nationals, but it's not to be determined yet between Washington and Milwaukee as far as the location goes. But let's hope that the Brewers win the division. I'd love to avoid that one and done playoff scenario.
Absolutely. So,
Chad on?
Look,
Chad is he's not on. He's on location, getting his own reporting and celebrating. So he's doing great.
Okay, great.
Possibly at the drunk uncle.
Good possibility.
So let's take a rewind just for 3 short weeks ago. I think it was September 6th. The Brewers had opened a 4-game series against the Chicago Cubs, and I remember thinking we'd have to win that series at least 3 or 4, if not sweep it, to keep any chance of the postseason alive. We ended up dropping that first game. I know Kyle Schwarber had like a grand slam or whatever, and I was pretty downtrodden at the end of that game. I believe at that time the Brewers, after that loss, the Brewers were 7.5 games behind the Cardinals in the division and 5 games behind the Cubs. 3 short weeks later, in an incredible 17-2 stretch, the last 19 games has propelled the Brewers into the postseason. An unbelievable run. We are somehow now 6 games ahead of the Chicago Cubs for the second wild card, and we've now secured our postseason berth and officially eliminated the Chicago Cubs with tonight's win. So unbelievable.
Yeah, there's not a better word to describe it. It just seems like this month, and September of last year was crazy as well. I did check back on the stats in September, and I guess a game in October. The Brewers were 20-7 in the regular season in 2018. So it's remarkable that Craig Counsell, is able to get the guys to play their best baseball in the month where it counts the most.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I know that we all had said, previously that if this team could just kind of hang around and weather like the tough parts of their schedule and weather the injuries and get healthy and get hot, we could potentially make a big run in the last 3 weeks of the year. And I know that we said that, and we had said it several times leading up to it, but I don't think anyone could have ever thought that we would go 17-2. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, I mean, hats off to this team. Like, unbelievable resilience.
And everyone stepped up. I mean, obviously, we've mentioned, and everyone's well aware of that on September 10th, Christian Yelich, our NL MVP last year and probably top finishing NL MVP candidate this year, went down with a broken kneecap for the remainder of this season. And I think in spite of the hope at that time, I think a lot of Brewer fans are like, well, there goes our chance. We just swept the Cubs and got the easy Marlins here to play, but now Yelich is down, and what else can we do? Well, the troops have rallied around that, headed by Braun wearing Yelich's jersey underneath his, and the Brewers have just stepped up, and I mean, winning is contagious, and obviously Craig Counsell deserves a ton of credit for his, I guess, wizardry of mastering the use of his full September rosters both last year and this year. And I read something that he had actually said to Zach Davies before his, I think, September 1st start that starting from this point forward, we're going to be managing the pitching a little differently and don't expect to go more than 2 times through the lineup. And so it's that strategy has really kind of paid off, and it shows that his acquisitions of guys like Drew Pomeranz at the trade deadline, that Stearns acquiring those guys really was a plan that Counsell and him came up with to try to strengthen our bullpen for a run like this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The deadline was kind of widely ridiculed, I think, by some fans at the time, and it was not really something that I don't think many people were very excited about acquiring Ray Black or Drew Pomeranz or Jordan Lyles. And, something about what David Stearns knows compared to the rest of the fan base is pretty impressive because the guys that he acquires at the deadline always seem to come through. It's happened several years in a row, so I think he's definitely earned the benefit of the doubt at this point from Brewers fans. And I think one other thing that we were talking about, Craig Counsell, I think that he is a definite, I won't say a shoo-in, but I think he should be the strongest candidate for National League Manager of the Year this year as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing how this team actually got so much bang for the buck at the trade deadline without actually having to mortgage, a big part of our future, which is so important as a small market. I mean, that farm system is worth a lot more to us than it is to some of those bigger markets. But also wanted to point out really quick that the big hit tonight, first inning grand slam by Ryan Braun, and 11 years ago to the day, I believe we were all out drinking after work in the Miller Park parking lot when Ryan Braun hit a walk-off grand slam against Pittsburgh that eventually helped that 2008 Brewer team make the wild card. So the guy just, like Vince has said many times now in this podcast, the guy he just always comes through in the big moments.
Yeah, I love the guy. And just for the record, Scott, I don't think that you waited until after work that day, just to be clear.
Oh, no, I was definitely there because I thought at first that – to drink?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't. I had to pregame it, but technically it's not pregaming if you're at work and the game's going on, right? So I think we're fine.
Weren't you drinking before work that day too? I mean, kind of the pregame for the pregame?
Well, that was pregaming, yeah, but –
Yeah. Win some, you lose some. Neither here nor there. Let's not get into the semantics of it all at this point.
I was very superstitious, and I realized that I had had a drink before, during, and after every Brewer win all season. So,
although the losses as well, but that's okay. We were young once.
Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah, I think your point being is that we still have a shot at the division, but what's great is that the Brewers are still playing for something. I think that's a big deal because, like you were pointing out, the momentum thing is huge, and the Brewers could easily, I think, or any team, once you clinch a postseason berth, it's a little easy to let your guard down, maybe not play quite at the same level as you were where you're trying to clinch that spot. But the Brewers are definitely still playing for something. So that division title means a lot when you're talking about the difference being a 5-game series or a 1-game series. So I think that that's a huge motivating factor yet this week. And I'm sure that the Brewers are going to come back, to play a Game 3 in Cincinnati and a weekend series against the Rockies kind of at that same level of intensity because of the fact that we're still chasing the Cardinals. And, I don't know if it's quite a 50-50 chance, but we've got a pretty decent chance of catching the Cardinals in the division. And it would be that would be unbelievable when you talk about where the Brewers were just a month ago. Not only to make a playoff a spot like we did tonight, but to be able to catch the Cardinals in the division would be incredible.
Yeah, I think it would be absolutely ridiculous. And, the Cardinals in their own right, obviously they got pretty hot in the second half too to really come out of nowhere and take the lead in this division. However, there was another team that, if you think back just 1 week ago, had a slightly better or maybe the exact same record as us. And that team is now sitting, well, they're already eliminated. And that would be your Chicago Cubs. Well, somebody's Chicago Cubs. I'm sure as hell not ours. But, I mean, that team really just fell apart. I know the injuries were a part of it. But, I mean, this Brewers team obviously had injuries too, and they stepped up. So really, really proud of this team.
I mean, you look at the payroll of the Cubs being second highest payroll in baseball, I believe. Just a massive group of underachievers both last year and this year, and I'm sure it's going to cost Joe Mann his job. But really, Mr. GMDT, Theo Epstein is also very much to blame for making signings like, Yu Darvish, or trading away really quality young players for someone like Jose Quintana. And obviously this year signing, being the only team in baseball willing to give Craig Kimbrell a 3-year contract, and that's blowing up in their faces. So
they hung on to Addison Russell despite all of his issues. I mean, they really, wow, they just fell apart.
Not requiring Anthony Rizzo to wear clothes in the clubhouse, just ridiculous.
Well, and guys who they signed to massive contracts, not just Yu Darvish, but also guys like Jason Hayward, not coming through like they expected them to. I mean, these guys are being paid like superstars, and they're not playing like superstars. But hey, more power to the Brewers. I actually, and it could be crazy, but I actually look at the Brewers as being, such a positive story. It's not even about the Cubs playing as bad as they did. It's just about the Brewers playing as well as they have. And it's a continuous story here because it happened last season as well. That game 163 is still a pretty strong memory for me. And I think that the Brewers just proved again that they are a better team on the field than the Cubs, and not just because the Cubs, are having problems, but because the Brewers are actually the better team.
And I think you're right, Vince. If the Cubs even would have went like 500 in the last 8 games rather than lose all of them, the Brewers would have still beat them out for the wild card. So The bottom line, the Brewers are super hot right now, and they're proving to be a better club than the Chicago Cubs for the second straight season.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, guys, I sincerely hope that we're going to be able to do another podcast in the very near future, and I hope it has to do with popping champagne once again. I mean, like you said, there's still a lot left in just, a handful of games left in the season that still needs to be determined. So, I mean, if everything goes our way, who knows? I mean, we could get out of this wild card, or maybe we're hosting a game, maybe we're hosting a series. Like, could be pretty awesome.
Well, I've already purchased a couple of tickets to the wild card game, but I'd be more than happy to swap them out for the first home game of the NLDS. If we can win out the division, that'd be awesome. So, and Scott, I know that you were mentioning that you wanted to give some shout out and some opportunity to kind of highlight some of our Twitter followers and what their reactions were to the Brewers punching their ticket in the postseason for 2019.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to rattle these off as fast as I can. So if I get the name wrong or anything like that, or if I shorten it, like, don't feel too bad. But definitely want to thank these guys. I mean, we just posted this like a little bit ago, and it was overwhelming response. But just ask people how they felt about this Brewer team in 5 words or less. So here we go. Jill says, "My crew is my life." Laura, "Nothing compares to you." Packer fan Brewer cramp. He just gave a thumbs up. I'm still going to throw it out there, though. This is what's going to unfortunately make me have to remember to mark this as an explicit episode. Bryce T says, "Win the whole fucking thing." I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
Mark says, "Stop partying, win tomorrow." Riley Fingers Mustache, "Braun, please father my kids." It's pretty awesome. Billionaire Mark Antonazio, "Council is a genius." No argument here. Brew Crew Jeff, "We're in this together." Brew Maths, always posting great stuff. He just said, Gonna repeat as Central champs. Very optimistic, and I hope he's right. Treppenwitz said, Sooners saved the season. I mean, yeah, maybe. Junkback Singer said, September Braun is best Braun. Absolutely. Landmark, Yowie Wowie, what a ride. Dominic rallying around a downed fighter in Christian Yelich. That's awesome. Tomas said, Berserker at bats, birth postseason births. That was a lot, but pretty clever. Ben Gamble Fan Club, happy the Mariners traded him. So it's pretty awesome. Brewer Girl 22 said I couldn't be prouder. Craig Council Moy says Braun is still my dad. Brewtown Packers just wrote hot. Absolutely. Big Tasty, electric October vibes. Nicholas Winter, marvelous. Hunter says, bring it, LA. Love that. Maddie says, still great, even without Yelly. Tyler says, we'll never forget 2019. It's already such a memorable year. Sticks for MVP says, I'm in love. Christine says, just keep winning in Craig Timber. Now, I'm not sure if she's referring to Craig Council there or Craig, our co-host. So it's probably a double entendre. Just
yeah.
Omega.
I have actually had a pretty good September myself.
Omega
and all the other months as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Omega Fred says brewed for October. Spliff says City loves his team, and Zach Bellman said inspired by their fight. So thank you guys all so much for participating. Sorry I didn't give you too much of a notice, but we had an overwhelming response, and hope you guys are listening to this podcast. And thanks again for joining us on this podcast, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever the hell else we are. Thank you so much.
Oh, there
guys.
was one
What a
additional
phenomenal
one.
year.
Scott,
there was one additional one that came in.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Came in kind of late from T. Hartnett. It just said Yellow's injury means Brewer's done. Just 5 words. Good job. Must be a journalist. But anyway.
Yeah, our colleague Tom
right away. I'm not sure if he actually really followed the Brewers unless he's in at work or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, so but yeah, for the most part, really pumped up about the Brewers going to the playoffs, and I feel like this is a team with nothing to lose, and they feel like they're kind of on borrowed time, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this October.
Hey Scott, did you get a 5-word response to your tweet or the intern's tweet from our anonymous source Tom Carter?
Actually, I did. It says more work for me. Awesome. So
did he sign it Tom Carter, or how did he write his name? What's his Twitter handle again?
Just anonymous.
Anonymous source Tom Carter at twitter.com or whatever.
I'm not sure what the Twitter handle is. I don't have it in front of me, but I assume it's either T Carter or Tom C, as he does want it to be anonymous. So.
That makes sense then.
But it's fine.
He tried to tell me that he's not the anonymous. Every anonymous that's listed on the internet, that's not him. But I know that he's just trying to be humble. That is actually him. So.
Interesting.
Awesome, man! What a year, guys.
Let's keep it going. Definitely.
It's not over yet, guys. Let's do this.
And hopefully we can have another podcast from you here, maybe Sunday evening, after the Brewers kind of finalize where they're headed to for the postseason, and a little preview of their first playoff game and all that good stuff. So definitely check back.
Yeah, definitely. Keep checking out the podcast and check out some of the great ones that we had in the past. Like we got some really good ones posted up by former Milwaukee Brewer players. Each one of those interviews is absolutely phenomenal. And not only that, but like once this season's over, like don't think it's just because the baseball season is over. Don't think the podcast season is, because we'll have even more rumblings and rumors from like all over the web, including from our anonymous source, Tom Carter, who can give us some of the inside scoops. So should be absolutely awesome. And certainly it's going to be better than, where you get from some of the other places. I mean, there's some certain beat reporters that have absolutely no clue what's going on. And we got the inside track on them. So keep it here.
Yeah, and we'll be back with some player interviews once the Brewers season is done. So after the World Series, we've got a couple lined up and in the docket, so we're excited to bring you those, but not too excited yet because we've got a lot of baseball yet to cover this postseason.
Absolutely.
All right, well, stay classy, Chicago, and let's go Brewers.
All right, go Brewers, guys. Stay classy.
Go Brewers.
Dun, 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 dun.
Brewers!